You have to mention names.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that the state legislature has become progressively more conservative over the last 20 years, particularly fiscally so. And they're clearly, this paper covered a very visceral debate about the fiscal condition of the county and the reality of finances. That the state legislature pays attention to issues like that, and those commissioners that are perceived as being in support of the status quo on those fiscal issues, you can't be in office for more than 20 years and people not know who you are. I mean, everybody knows who the county commissioners are in all the big counties. You're talking about counties in our state that are larger than some states. Big counties larger than Wyoming, and we're on the small ones. You're talking about Hillsborough County, Orange County, Duval, Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade's its own country, 3.5 million people. I mean, and not just talking culturally, which is the joke, but legitimately, 3.5 million people is larger than a lot of countries in the world. This is a huge state. We're now tied with New York in the number 3 slot with a delegation of 27 in Congress. We're no small potato place. And, you know, to carry on that theme, I think there is clearly an understanding. Small potato thinking is not looked upon favorably in Tallahassee, and oftentimes a lot of policies, I think, are viewed as being that kind of.
You know, related to that, you know, some of the issues where the county and the state have been at odds have included occasionally fertilizer issues, mining, Medicaid billing, water management issues, and so forth. Is there an area where you think that you see, or the legislature sees eye to eye with the county, or where there's an opportunity perhaps to be more cooperative?
Well, I mean, the inverse of the dispute is everything. So where we don't have a dispute, obviously we don't have a disagreement about. But it is true, and of course a lot of those issues aren't unique. The ones you just named aren't unique to Lee County. I mean, I can tell you that Medicaid billing is a very difficult issue for all 67 counties, and in fact, realistically, is more of an issue for, I think, the rural counties than it is for the urban counties. I mean, it's a chunk of change, but it's statistically not a big part of our budget as it is for like Hendry County, which I've talked to some of them, and they're seriously facing serious issues if they don't have it. But that issue in particular will just have to work itself out. I mean, that's just a dispute about billing between two parties that you're going to have to work through. The other ones, aggregate mining, fertilizer regulation, I mean, that's a similar issue that you're going to have in Palm Beach County and Sarasota and Ellis County. So it's not, I don't think, you know, I opened up the door by touching on the subject, but, you know, we don't have a massive delegation going into it. We've grown now to have 4 House members. We're not a county that has, like Miami-Dade, that will have 17 by right. I mean, that gives them a pretty strong advantage in terms of advocating for what their county wants in a body of 120. With 4, you have to be a little more, the depth's not the word I'm looking for, but it doesn't help you when you have a small delegation to then have a county with a reputation that precedes itself.
You know, speaking of that, you are really now, it seems to be the sole line of defense, or the main line of defense for Lehigh Acres when it comes to elected politics, because when you have, I'm trying to remember if it's District 10 or 17, the new mega district that encompasses 10 counties. You know, Lehigh was an 17, and it was left out of
only portions there.
left out of the new District 19. What messages are you sending to your constituents, your direct constituents, about how they're going to be represented, given that it's a very complicated situation, congressionally, legislatively, except with perhaps the exception of you?
It's if you had the opportunity to hear me speak at any different groups, Rotary, Kiwanis, or all kinds of groups regarding redistricting, Lehigh Acres is a member of a very elite community in the state, wherein we are a major population center located inside the interstate bill. We share that in common with Port St. Lucie, with Wellington and Palm Beach County, And what that means is I can't move the physical boundary of the coast. So when I draw, anyone draws a district, you're going to start at the physical coast, and you're going to fill up the district's population until they hit their target, and then you start again on the interior. 10 years ago, Lehigh Acres was only 35,000 people, and it was the leftover. You combine that with Wellington, and you ended up with that Senate district that we have. That's just a matter of geography. Same thing has happened with that congressional seat. You've drawn all the coastal districts, and what do you have left is a 17-county behemoth in the middle, which has a little bit of Lehigh Acres, a little bit of Lakeland, a little bit of Bradenton. You know, when that seat is an open seat, assuming Congressman Rooney takes that seat, I would expect, realistically. When it is an open seat, what a free-for-all that'll be, because you have no solid political constituency representing that seat. Another quick factoid is that is the biggest beef cattle seat outside of Oklahoma and Texas in the entire nation. We've taken everywhere that we have cows, pretty much put it in one seat. That's what you get.
More cows than people.
Well, in Okeechobee County, for sure.
David, can I ask one more question with
Sure.
regard to the relationship between the state and the county? I happened to be at an M&P meeting the other day, and I saw two lobbyists basically for the county give a report on a number of issues that came forward this year. And I was interested to see also how much they're paid to do those lobbying efforts. And I was wondering how they can deal with some of the issues with the negative connotation that they have to deal with. Are these people we really need? Do you see a lot of lobbyists that come through your office in terms of working on bills and legislation that's coming forward? And if so, you know, why do we need two lobbyists in our county?
Otherwise, you won't get anything done.
That's no way to get.
Roy, that's a really interesting question I've struggled with. I think certainly when you're dealing with private enterprise in a state as large as ours, it is beneficial to hire someone to represent you, to develop relationships, not for nefarious ends, but just to ensure that you don't get lost in the shuffle of 19 million people. I have had a debate with myself about whether that should extend itself to public government and why it should. You know, I guess where I've fallen at the moment is I do think it's useful when you're talking about specific or particular issues. But I do think the public would be well served by having their elected officials at the local level be highly integrated with their elected officials at state government and be able to discuss the issues just one-on-one. It does make it a little difficult for local government because they have a much stringent standard on sunshine. They can't meet together. In effect, a lot of what they accomplish is to meet as a public body and give direction and then send an envoy to do that. You know, I'm not going to make that policy decision for them. In all of our discussions about the budget at the county level, I've tried to just keep it as a comparison to other counties our size and the differences in expenditure level. It really is up to the board to decide how to spend that money. But I'll leave it there.
You, on the count, when you mentioned the county's not held in great regard, doubt it. I've been to my fair share of commission meetings, and we have city commissioners railing against the legislature. Worst legislature session I've ever seen, yada. You know, I mean, it's a recording. How does that play up there? What does that come home to haunt?
Well, I mean, what if they said this was the worst editorial board gathering they'd ever seen? I mean, I think it speaks for itself.
Okay.
Well, we are at the end of our meeting, and is there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
I mean, I've loved, I'll just say I loved the last 2 years. I thought we were able to accomplish a lot of good things. We were able to hold off a number of issues that would have impacted us locally, and took a little bit of work on our part to accomplish. And certainly glad to serve for another 2 years if the voters allow it.
Thank you very much.
I just asked about his projection on casino gambling and the stadium situation for the Twins in terms of the grant money that's available. Do you know anything about that?
Casino gambling, I think if I were advising the casino gambling operation, I would ask them why they're going to spend any more money in the legislature, not just pay for a ballot initiative and bypass us altogether. If I had the kind of money at my disposal that they do and wanted to accomplish it, that would be the thing I would do. Because it's very complex, and it wasn't going to happen this year, and I don't see the landscape changing legislatively. The county has been in pursuit of some funds. I'm not an expert on how that works exactly, but just to know that the state does interact with the totality of spring training, and there is interest, like the county's espoused, having synergy. If you're going to have those teams, let's have them near each other. And there is funding available, as I understand it, to accomplish that goal.
So that would help the Twins and the Nationals, right? That would help them bring the Nationals.
I mean, I still, to be honest, I do have a lot of, I always have heartburn, frankly, about public financing of sports facilities. I do know they have economic impact, but you really run the numbers out, and it gives me some heartburn, and even more so when you're talking about facilities that their peak uses are only 6 weeks a year. I mean, I think I'd have a hard time arguing about a full-time home for a pro sports team, and you multiply that by something that only gets used for 1 month of spring training. I mean, we do use amateur baseball, but that doesn't bring the kind of money when they're here for. So.
Representative Caldwell, we want to thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And please have a wonderful, wonderful day and best success to you.
Thank you all.